Monday, August 20. Circumcision. One of the great issues in this conflict was circumcision. This was not a human institution. There are contrasts here in Matthew 15, 2 and 9. Why do your disciples break the tradition of the elders? They don't wash their hands before they eat. And verse 9, they worship me in vain. Their teachings are merely human rules. Rather, it had been commanded by God himself as a sign of his covenant with Abraham's descendants as his chosen people, as we read yesterday in Genesis 17, verses 9 through to 14. Question. Read Exodus 12, verses 43 to 49. In addition to Israelite males, who else was supposed to be circumcised? Exodus 12, beginning at verse 43, the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "These are the regulations for the Passover meal. No foreigner may eat it. Any slave you have bought may eat it after you have circumcised him, but a temporary resident or a hired worker may not eat it. It must be eaten inside the house. Take none of the meat outside the house. Do not break any of the bones. The whole community of Israel must celebrate it. A foreigner residing among you who wants to celebrate the Lord's Passover must have all the males in his household circumcised. Then he may take part like one born in the land. No uncircumcised male may eat it. The same law applies both to the native born and to the foreigner residing among you." The blessings of the covenant were not restricted to born Israelites, but were extended to any slave or sojourning stranger who wished to experience it, as long as he were to be circumcised. After circumcision, the stranger would have the same status before God as the born Israelite. As we read in Exodus 12:48, he shall be as a native of the land. Circumcision, therefore, was indispensable for a male to be a full member of God's covenant community. And, because Jesus was the Messiah of Israel, it seemed natural that the Judaizers would insist that no Gentile could benefit from his salvation without first becoming a Jew. Question. Read Romans 3:30, 1 Corinthians 7:18 and Galatians 3:28 and chapter 5, verse 6. What was Paul's understanding of circumcision? First of all, Romans 3, verse 30, 1 Corinthians 7, verse 18. Was a man already circumcised when he was called? He should not become uncircumcised. Was a man uncircumcised when he was called? He should not be circumcised. Galatians 3:28. There is neither Jew nor Gentile, neither slave nor free, nor is there male and female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. And Galatians 5 verse 6 reads, "For in Christ Jesus neither circumcision nor uncircumcision has any value. The only thing that counts is faith, expressing itself through love." What was Paul's understanding of circumcision? By saying that no Gentile could be saved without first joining Judaism, these men were mixing up two distinct concepts: covenant and salvation. Being a member of God's covenant community did not guarantee salvation, as we read in Jeremiah 4:4. "Circumcise yourselves to the Lord, circumcise your hearts, you people of Judah and inhabitants of Jerusalem, or my wrath will flare up and burn like fire, because of the evil you have done. Burn with no one to quench it." And Jeremiah 9:25. "The days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will punish all who are circumcised only in the flesh." In addition, Abraham himself was saved or justified by faith, which happened before and not because he was circumcised. We read in Romans 4, verses 9 to 13. "Is this blessedness only for the circumcised, or also for the uncircumcised? We have been saying that Abraham's faith was credited to him as righteousness. Under what circumstances was it credited? Was it after he was circumcised, or before? It was not after, but before. And he received circumcision as a sign, a seal of the righteousness that he had by faith while he was still uncircumcised. So then, he is the father of all who believe but have not been circumcised, in order that righteousness might be credited to them. And he is then also the father of the circumcised, who not only are circumcised, but who also follow in the footsteps of the faith that our father Abraham had before he was circumcised. It was not through the law that Abraham and his offspring received the promise that he would be heir of the world, but through the righteousness that comes by faith. Salvation has always been by faith, whereas the covenant was a gracious provision through which God would make himself and his saving plan known to the entire world. Israel had been chosen for this purpose, as we read in Genesis 12:1-3. The Lord had said to Abram, "Get from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse, and all peoples on earth will be blessed through you." The problem, however, was that by too closely associating covenant and salvation, these believers came to view circumcision as meritorious. God's saving grace, however, does not operate where human works operate. So, to impose circumcision on believing Gentiles as a means of salvation was to distort the gospel's truth, nullifying God's grace, and make Jesus of no benefit. And we're going to look at some texts that just tell us all of that. The first one will be in Galatians chapter 1 and verse 7. And that reads, "Which is really no gospel at all. Evidently, some people are throwing you into confusion and are trying to pervert the gospel of Christ." And Galatians 2:3-5, "Yet not even Titus, who was with me, was compelled to be circumcised, even though he was a Greek. This matter arose because some false believers had infiltrated our ranks to spy on the freedom we have in Christ Jesus, and to make us slaves. We did not give in to them for a moment, so that the truth of the gospel might be preserved for you." And Galatians 2:21, "I did not set aside the grace of God, for if righteousness could be gained through the law, Christ died for nothing." And Galatians 5, verse 2, "Mark my words, I, Paul, tell you that if you let yourselves be circumcised, Christ will be of no value to you at all." Furthermore, it was a denial of the universal character of salvation, as we read in Colossians 3:11. "Here there is no Gentile or Jew, circumcised or uncircumcised, barbarian, Scythian, slave or free, but Christ is all and is in all." And Titus 2:11, "For the grace of God has appeared that offers salvation to all people." Paul could never agree to this type of thinking. And so to finish today, what's the danger of thinking that salvation comes from merely being a member of the right church?